Welcome to the Future of Ground Transportation podcast, where we discuss the exciting innovations that lie ahead for organizational ground transportation. Each episode, we cover topics tailored to those resolving transportation-related challenges and provide tips, tools, and trends that will inspire you to stay ahead of the curve. And now, here's your host, Daniel Perez.
Welcome to the Future of Ground Transportation. Today we have a special guest with a ton of experience in the transit authority transit industry side with 24 years of experience in the public transit industry. We have John Andoh, the transit general manager for the Redding area for bus authority in the Redding of California. John, welcome on board.
Thank you, Daniel, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in the transit industry? And let's dive in a little bit there.
You know, transit's been a passion for me. I've been interested in it since the age of 5. And it's always been a goal of mine to become a public transit general manager. And I got my interest into public transit was a field trip that we had to Santa Clara County Transit. I'm from San Jose, California. I got a chance to meet a planner by the name of Kermit Cuff, who's still there to this day. And I stayed in contact with him over the years and got a chance to do an internship there when I was 13. And then from there on, became a transit manager at 20, and the rest is history.
You became a transit manager at 20?
Yeah. This was in Stanislaus County for a little community called Riverbank.
Okay. And how was it when you first started 24 years ago, fast forward and now?
Gosh, fundamentally different, I have to say, just with technology, how we planned bus routes and services, how we engaged with the public. It's definitely been it's been an adventure.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. So what is the biggest obstacles and constraints that you guys are currently dealing with, John?
You know, we have implemented a short-range transit plan recently, and that plan basically took a wholesale look at how we provide public transit services in Shasta County. And the recommendations that came out of that plan involved creating microtransit services, implementing various mobility-based programs, and consolidation of duplicative services. So we've started to implement those changes, and people have been used to the bus system running this particular way for 30 plus years. And all of a sudden, we're implementing these new services and programs. So it's caught some of our riders off guard, and we're having to do a lot of training and education to have them learn the new system and be familiar with creative ways to get across the service area so they can get to quality of life opportunities.
Got it. So you're saying it's mainly training?
Yeah, reteaching somebody, like if they're used to walking to a bus stop every day, waiting for a bus to come by every hour, and now all of a sudden they have to go on an app and schedule the bus to come to them at their home instead of walking to that bus. That's definitely a change in what they're used to doing. And some people are not technologically savvy, so being able to explain other options for being able to access that ride, such as calling us on a general telephone, for instance.
So for a little bit of context, John, because I should have asked you this from the beginning, tell us a little bit about the Redding area bus authority. How many buses? What is the infrastructure? How many employees?
So we have 38 buses, and we primarily run fixed route transit service, complimentary ADA paratransit service, and now we have a microtransit service. We also have some mobility programs such as a van pool program, a bike share program, and we're getting ready to launch a partnership with Uber to help provide transportation in the off hours when buses are not running. We have approximately 65 contract employees that work for a company called Transdev. They hire all of the operational personnel. And then on the administrative side, we have about 7 employees that are responsible for the oversight of RABA, as well as doing the planning, the marketing, customer service, grants, finances, and legal counsel services.
Got it. Got it. Tell us a little bit about the microtransit. That sounds really exciting to me. So, what is the program about? What are you guys doing on the microtransit side?
So we started the microtransit service called Runabout, and it operates in 5 different zones throughout the RABA service area. And these zones basically replaced former fixed routes that used to operate in those areas because these are low density areas, and sending a bus 13 times a day wasn't yielding the returns that we were expecting. During the evenings and on Sundays, when we bring all the buses in, we then make the entire service area a microtransit zone. We just launched Sunday service in Shasta County for the first time. And this is as a way to connect people to quality of life opportunities on Sunday, church, shopping, those that may go to jobs. And it's been working out well. We're seeing on average 60 to 70 trips on the system. And each Sunday it continues to grow. Same thing in the evenings. We used to run buses until 7 o'clock at night, and those last bus trips weren't performing very well. With us now having Runabout service, we now extended the service to 10 p.m. So that now can help somebody who has a late night restaurant or retail or bar job the opportunity to get home, or somebody that works overnight the opportunity to get to work. And we're seeing that evening service actually perform better than when we were actually running the fixed route buses, 15 fixed route buses to be exact. And now we're down to just running 3 to 5 runabout vehicles.
Got it. And when you said runabout, is it pretty much on standby? Is pretty much all being conducted through an app?
It's being conducted through an app. We use Via as our scheduling software to schedule those trips, and they are on demand. So we have buses on standby at various areas throughout the zone so that we can be responsive and be able to pick up a passenger within 20 to 30 minutes of the request. And our average trip time of somebody riding a vehicle is about 15 minutes. And our average shared use, meaning the shared rides, right now is about 38% and continues to grow.
Oh, wow. And what would you say, John, is the mentality or mindset from the consumer perspective, going from fixed to now microtransit?
The first day we launched Runabout, it was a struggle for some people because they just didn't understand how it works, how to make the call or the app. They were just saying, "Where's my bus? The bus is supposed to be here at 6:02 a.m. or 7:02 a.m., etc." So we have a mobility manager. She's been going out and training our riders on how to understand using the app and the tools available so that you can do a comprehensive trip throughout our service area as quickly as possible. Fast forward to about 35 days later, those passengers are now becoming more comfortable with the concept of Runabout and understanding how more flexible the service is compared to having this fixed route constantly come on this fixed schedule and then having to walk to their destination or transfer to another bus to get to their destination.
Got it, John. So, good question. Again, for a little bit of context and for all the listeners. So, if I'm supposed to pick up a bus at 7, well, there's no schedule, I'm assuming, right? So, if there's a pickup at 7 a.m., and if I miss that bus that left at 7 a.m., then now I got to wait for how long? Or is it that someone order at 7 a.m. and can I order again at 7:10? Or how does it work behind the scenes?
So back on the fixed route system, the fixed routes ran hourly. So if you missed the 7 a.m. bus, you're waiting till 8 a.m. Now with Runabout, if you need a 7 a.m. pickup, just go on the app about maybe 30 minutes before you're ready to go and just select that you need a bus. And then the app will tell you within 20 to 30 minutes when we'll send a vehicle to you to pick you up at your door and then take you to your destination within the zone. If you need to travel outside of the zone, we will then take the passenger to a transit center or a bus stop where they can connect to fixed route transit to continue on their journey throughout our service area.
And this is all being dispatched through via.
I mean, dispatched via
Got it. That's
real
great.
time, on demand to keep the service fluid and responsive.
Got it. And what is the population and how many counties?
We only serve one county, and that's Shasta. The entire county is about 182,000 residents. The Where we have most of the transit service in the urban core of the county, that's about 101,000 residents, each one in the three cities.
Got it. Thank you, John. And what other things are you guys excited about? You mentioned a little bit about the challenges, but what are you guys really excited about for for 2025 and the upcoming years?
Well, some of the things that we're looking to do is buy some newer vehicles. We are getting more low floor vehicles on the van side, smaller vehicles at that. Transitioning our fleet to zero emissions, which could include battery electric and hydrogen. We are doing additional marketing strategies to increase our ridership and make people more aware of the RABA services that we're offering. That includes doing a marketing plan and then coming up with marketing strategies such as advertising, more advertisements, use of social media, holding more events, for instance. And then another piece is these mobility programs that we're offering, such as we have our bike share first last mile program where when you come off a RABA bus, you can get a code to use the downtown bike share system to get to your final destination free of charge. So the bike share system is integrated into public transit. We're also working on a relationship with Bird Scooters where you'll be able to do the same thing on a scooter. And then later on this month, we'll have a program with Uber to where if you wanted to use transportation when there's no transit services available, we'll pay the first $5 of that Uber trip to anywhere within the urban Shasta County area of our service area. So that's a great way for people to, like, if they wanted to hang out late night downtown, they'll still be able to have a safe ride home, for instance.
Got it. And what is the benefit for you guys as the authorities? You guys don't have to dispatch and operate routes during those hours?
That is correct. We're utilizing existing transportation modes that are already operating, and we're just increasing mobility and access.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And you mentioned hydrogen and electrical vehicles. Can we dive deep a little bit into your perspective with hydrogen vehicles, electrical vehicles? I know that in the private sector, based on my experience, there has been a lot of constraints getting into the electrical vehicles. We run about 100 buses. We have a couple of electrical vehicles, but number one for us is really expensive, and the consumer is normally the end buyer, which is normally either a transit agency or a Fortune 1000 company. But when we provide proposals, the price is 2 to 3 times higher. So there's been a lot of sort of friction going in that direction. So I'm just curious to see what is your thoughts, John, and what do you see the electrical vehicle movement going?
Well, we're taking the cautious approach as we transition to zero emissions because the technology is constantly evolving. It's very expensive to do the transition. And we want to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible with the operating funds that we need to continue to operate the transit system, but also those same funds we do need to use to ensure a state of good repair, ensure that our assets are up to date. Uh, Ultimately, our goal is to have a blended fleet. California does have some stringent transition goals. They would like all of the public transit fleets to be zero emissions by 2040. And in our case, we have to start buying 25% of our new bus purchases as zero emissions starting in 26 and then 100% in 29. So we've developed a transition plan that will help us get to that ultimate goal of 2040 by starting to phase out our fossil fuel vehicles for either battery electric and hydrogen. It is going to require us to pursue grants in order to make this achievement occur. And it's also going to require us to be mindful of the cost as well as the range that these vehicles can do. Hydrogen seems to be far superior for traveling longer distances compared to battery electric. It does have a higher infrastructure cost, however. But we're being fairly open, and we're excited to see what possibilities can come out of the continued evolution of the use of zero emission technology.
Totally, totally. That's 100%. And as far as the workforce with operators and drivers, is there a major shortage that you guys are dealing with, or what do you guys foresee with the workforce, especially bus drivers nowadays?
Fortunately, we've been successful. Our contractor has been doing aggressive recruiting and has been able to get bus operators and mechanics to meet our demands for service. We are wanting to be mindful of compensation for these employees so that we can continue to recruit a highly skilled workforce and a highly motivated workforce. We also are looking at partnerships with our local community college so we can implement workforce development programs on the driving side as well as on the maintenance side so we can start training the workforce of the future and start
Mm.
introducing the next generation into careers in public transit so that we can continue to have that evolving workforce so that services can continue into the future.
Got it. Got it. And John, in this podcast, we as this is the future of transportation. If you had the crystal ball to look into the future, whether it's 5 years or 10 years or 20 years from now, what are your thoughts when it comes to autonomous vehicles, flying vehicles, smart roads? What comes to your top of mind?
Personally, I'm excited about all of those opportunities. I would really like to see more autonomous vehicles. I had an experience riding a Waymo vehicle in Phoenix not too long ago, and I went from the airport to downtown, and it was just exciting just to see how I was able to just come into the vehicle. I could read my book, and the car just did the driving. It stopped at traffic lights. It stopped for intrusions in the road. It was just very fascinating, and to see some of that, and this was a zero emissions car. On top of that, I think it'll definitely change the future. I do
Yeah.
see opportunities for the workforce, as there's going to be a need to be technicians for these vehicles and provide support. So being able to transition the workforce into being adaptive to new technologies is going to be important as we evolve towards that direction. Flying cars, I'm not sure yet. That's a lot of chaos in the skies. It can't be good if we have airplanes, helicopters, little planes, all in that same space. Someone's going to have to regulate all that. And
Yep.
if it's not regulated properly, it could be highly disastrous, especially for us down on the ground.
Yeah. That's very well said. And with the autonomous vehicles, John, do you see it in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What do you foresee?
I see that we're going to see more pilots in the next 5 years. I see us fully embracing it perhaps in the next 15 to 20. I know there's still people that are concerned about the technology. There's people on the workforce side that's also concerned about what will they do if autonomous vehicles took over.
Hmm.
So it's going to take some adaptation as well as uh, some conversion of some of those jobs into something that can support those vehicles so that people don't feel like the autonomous vehicle is replacing them.
Totally, totally. And I mean, one of the points that you sort of illustrated or you touched upon was safety. That you felt pretty safe during the with the autonomous vehicles, but sort of transitioning back to safety within your transit agency. Uh, what are the best sort of things that are working for the agency now when it comes to safety and keeping the public safety safe, but mostly with the drivers? What sort of technologies are you guys using, or what sort of best practices are you guys conducting around safety?
Well, we meet with the workforce once a year as the agency so we can get feedback from the drivers on how we can ensure that we're providing them a safe workplace, a safe vehicle, a safe facility, and ensuring that there's safety around passengers. As part of that feedback we get from them, we then work towards finding funding to implement those actions. We also strive to ensure we're designing bus routes and bus stops that are safe so that we can mitigate accidents. We install various forms of technology to ensure that the operators can remain safe, such as mobile eye pedestrian intrusion systems on the front and rear of the vehicles, rear view cameras, uh, drive cam, forward facing cameras that can help capture images before an incident or after an incident, or as any troubled um, driving habits so that those can be corrected, for instance. Security cameras inside buses, outside buses for employee and passenger safety. And then even putting up barriers for the drivers so that they could be protected from assaults and potential disease if we ever have another pandemic again.
Yeah,
And then the use of security guards and cooperation with law enforcement to patrol our assets, our facilities, as well as our users and employees of the system.
got it. Well said, John. Thank you. And what is the best advice you ever gotten, John, through your career?
Always be transparent. And by being transparent, being able to explain any good success stories, but also failures and bad situations. Because when you're, like, for instance, when you report to a board, the board is accountable to the people. And if the board doesn't have the right information to make the right decision for the situation at hand, and they have to find out later, it's not going to be good when you could have been upfront when the situation that was bad at the time was going on.
That's very well said. And as far as the what is your best book recommendation, John, and why?
You know, this is more lifestyle reading, but I enjoy reading Priceless Memories. It's a book by Bob Barker and basically about his life and how he rose to stardom as becoming the host of The Price is Right. And one thing I used to read in his book was just the joy that he would bring to people when they won various prizes and gifts on that show. And another thing too is like when it goes back to my comment about transparency, if they mess up on the game, they still give the prize to that user, even if they lost, just because they wanted to ensure that that user had the best experience possible. And I think, quite frankly, he did a great job in making people smile. And
Hmm.
I believe in public transit, that's our ultimate goal is to make people happy and get them safely from point A to point B.
That's very well said. John, thank you so much for sharing your 24 years of experience with all the listeners today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the episode and got some valuable insights. If you're curious to learn more, head over to the resource website at dpvtransportation.com, where we got a ton of useful resources and tools for you to stay ahead of the game. And before we wrap it up, I want to invite you to book a free gas emission consultation or a consultation about your ground transportation program with us. Just register on our website is a fantastic way to see how your fleet is doing or how your overall program could be improved. Thanks again for joining us, and we will catch you next time on the future of ground transportation. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the future of ground transportation. We appreciate you coming along for the ride. If you found value in this episode and want to hear more, please make sure to subscribe to the show.